Hello, everybody, and welcome to WordPress St. Petersburg. You are here tonight for our Ask Us Anything Crowdsourcing WordPress Support Workshop. I am Jim True. I am the lead organizer for WordPress St. Petersburg. Below me are my co-organizers, Travis Lopes, Jennifer Novak, and Elaine Simmons. My brain was like disconnecting, Elaine. Say hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
There we go. Thank you. You know I was going to keep calling on you until you did it. So anyway, let's get started. So we are WordPress St. Petersburg. We meet monthly on the first Tuesday. We took a couple months off while I moved. It is now, or we meet monthly first Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. online only through 2021. We may change that up next year. We'll see. Our Meetup website is meetup.com, WordPress St. Petersburg. Our website is wptampabay.org. On our website, we have a Slack chat, a Facebook group, and the link to all of our meetups. We are a member of the WordPress Tampa Bay Network. That is a loosely organized conglomeration of meetup groups that meet throughout Tampa Bay. That's St. Petersburg, Tampa, Newport Richey, and Brandon, Valrico, though they haven't met in a while. And Tampa hasn't met in a while either, so we'll see what happens with them. Alrighty. Our upcoming meetups and events. I'm just going to list the ones that are coming up in the next couple of months. We may change the titles on these, but for right now, they will be Ask Us Anythings on October 5th and an Ask Us Anything on November 2nd. We'll determine probably in the next couple of months if we're going to meet in December or not. We'll see. But that's what we've got planned for the rest of the year. Probably with all of the Gutenberg stuff going around, we may end up having a heavily focused Gutenberg Ask Us Anything. So like if you guys are getting like bombarded with a bunch of stuff or really needing to like figure out how to get deeper into the full site editing that's coming or is here, I should say, with WordPress 5.81, especially things with like the query builder and stuff like that, it might not be a bad idea to do a heavily focused Gutenberg Ask Us Anything. Okay, we're still looking for speakers. We always are looking for speakers. If you are pretty good in WordPress, web design, front end, back end, plugin reviews, theme reviews, anything pertinent to web design, anything pertinent to running a business in our remote world that we're in nowadays, that kind of stuff. We're happy to talk about those as well. If you've never spoken public before, that's no problem. That's why we're doing it online, so you don't have that many people watching it at once, or at least you don't see them watching it. It's also great for your resume, your LinkedIn, or your Twitter. If you're interested in speaking or having a discussion or doing a talk, contact us at wpabay.org/speakers/call. Our code of conduct tonight, there are no stupid questions except the one you didn't ask. If you don't ask a question, we can't help you. We're going to limit questions to 10 to 15 minutes each, so that any more than that, we should be hiring a consultant. We try not to overwhelm a phone call with too many of the same person talking if we can help it. And everyone gets to speak, but no crosstalk, please, especially on meetups, because microphones talk over each other. It's just nasty. So anyway, our Dialin etiquette. If we're using StreamYard, and the invite link is posted on Facebook and our YouTube chat. When you click on that, the guest instructions will pop up that show you how to set up your configuration. First, make sure you've got your connection configured properly and you've tested your mic and speakers. And then you'll be dropped into a what we call as a green room, where you can hear us, but we can't hear you yet, and we'll chat with you and then bring you into the call. If you're also watching the stream through Facebook or YouTube, make sure you mute the audio in those windows. You'll be able to hear us just fine when you join the StreamYard, but you want to make sure you mute your Facebook or your YouTube if you're watching it in another window, because those will come through your audio and we'll have to kick you out. So that's that. Okay, questions. Ask us anything. We're going to start with the questions that are currently in our meetup. So let me stop my screen sharing real quick. Excuse me. My goodness. Juan Roldan of Mexico asks how to get good scores in Core Web Vitals. And that's what is that, the Google report card?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we kind of touched on this a bit in the last meetup, if I remember right.
We did a little bit, yeah. And there's also one of our articles talks about it on our website, I think, and it's still kind of pertinent. Is it the optimization article? I think optimizing. Nope, not optimizing. Let's see, optimize. Yep, John Biddle. There we go. It's the improving WordPress performance. Let me link this real quick. This particular discussion. Hang on a second, my mouse is all over the place today.
While you're tracking that down, I'm sure there's specific things that you might need to tweak specifically for Web Vitals, but the majority of like what you're doing is just like it's been recommended that you do, like even before this existed. Optimizing your images, using a CDN to make sure they load quickly, lazy loading for images, like just the standard stuff.
Yeah. Is that a good link, Jen, or is that just a link to show you what it looks like?
That's a link to what the new Google Web terminology is. But yeah, they basically changed all their terminology, but they're measuring still the same thing. It's user experience. It's how fast things load, how interactive pages are.
Got it. Let me see if I can pull one up real quick on our website and share it, and we can take a look at it. I think I can do that. Let's see.
I think they've tried to simplify it, but I don't know how. They changed all the names, so it's not that simple. But once you learn the names and what each score is measuring, there's 3 scores that you're looking for.
Got it. Okay. Hang on. I'm popping in our website. Ours is probably not going to look that great, and that's okay. I think.
Although largest contentful paint is quite a mouthful.
And it's slow as Christmas, the measuring piece. So we'll move on a little bit while that's going on. Oh, there we go. Hang on. Let me share this real fast. So what we're talking about is window Chrome tab. Is that called Web Dev Measure? That's an odd one. Come on, where are you at? For some reason, it's not showing me that tab. That's weird. Okay, we'll just do this. There we go. So, we're not actually too bad. Accessibility is 100%. Yay! Best practice is 100.
That's amazing.
SEO 99. Yeah. Performance is only 70. That's not really that bad. Yeah, I see what you mean. The first contentful paint, time to interactive, speed index, largest constituent. God, those are lovely little words.
Right?
Yeah. And then it kind of breaks down your notes there. Biggest one on this one, I would probably say, is I know there's been a lot of discussion about this, that you actually get better results using Gutenberg instead of a lot of the current page builders. And a lot of the people that use the current page builders are going to constantly tell you you've got to use all these Minify and this particular plugin that does this and does that, and will squish all your plugins and all of your CSS and everything else like that. And coming from a plugin development company, we're going to say don't do that. Most of your plugin development companies have already done the minifying ahead of time, and they know what they're doing. We can honestly tell you that over caching, like throwing 400 caches on your site, bad idea. You really need to kind of like work through what you got, isolate down your plugins to what you need, and simplify your site. cache the pages you need to cache. Don't cache pages that are dynamic content because you're not going to get dynamic content that way anymore. Anything else you guys can think of?
Yeah, also realize at a certain point, you are no longer needing to do optimizations on the client side of like minifying the resources and stuff. At a certain point, you might need to switch to like, oh, my host isn't good enough to be able to deliver the assets in time.
Yeah.
To raise my score to where it needs to be.
And the host will probably tell you 1,000,000 times over that, no, it's your site.
Yes.
Because they don't want to admit that. So, all right. So, hopefully that answered the question. Oh, go ahead.
It was
Travis.
Oh, I was just gonna say it was fun. I just ran a Core Vitals test or Web Vitals test on my own site. Performance is 34. Yeah.
Wow.
Who knew?
Who knew?
But it's weird
that was
because
one
like
thing.
if you actually like load the page, like it doesn't feel non-performant.
Yeah, I noticed that going to your site too. But maybe they're looking at later loading stuff. Who knows?
Yeah.
Kind of weird. All right, so let's get another question from the meetup, and then we will take. I think Marilyn has joined the call, and we will bring her in. She's also asking them. Patricia Monroe asks about ideas on plugins, which didn't give any details. So we've done a couple of like best plugins on our website, kind of like a plugin review, and we're happy to do that again. And actually, we'd love to maybe we could discussion on our Slack chat or our Facebook group and kind of get everybody's lists of what plugins are their vital plugins that they love and they live by. So let me put a note of that. Let's do that in private chat so we can remember ourselves. Add a note to Facebook and Slack. Start a discussion, if I can type today, on everyone's favorite top 10 plugins that they can't live without. Okay, that's a note. We'll start doing that, and maybe we can talk about it next month. Okay, all right, Marilyn, we're going to bring you in.
Okay.
Hi, Marilyn. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome back.
You guys enjoying your hurricanes?
We have no hurricanes here. There are no hurricanes. What are you talking about?
I used to live there, so I know.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're actually not getting much of one here in Florida. We're getting some rain bands, I think. I'm no longer in St. Pete, so I don't know how bad Tampa Bay is, but Lakeland, we get rain every day. So, you had a question on our our Meetup group. You want to troubleshoot a function of your theme's functions PHP file. You'd like to write out the values of some variables. How can you do that? So do you have like a sample of the code you could share us or something of that nature?
I was just trying to write out, it'd be the approach I'd take if I were having problems in Java.
Okay. In Java or in PHP?
Yeah, I know, but probably has a similar kind of thing.
Yes, they do. If you're working in PHP in a functions PHP file, there's a couple of things you can do to, what is the one? Print R. God, what is that one, Travis? It's been a while
Print
since I've done it.
_r, which will do like a recursive print on the whole variable that you're passing in. You can also use var _dump, which will have a more prettier display of that, but you will, as you nest in to that element, you will not get all the data you need.
Well,
Are you looking to like log it to a file instead of like displaying it live? Is that what you're trying to do?
I just want to see it somewhere, and
yeah.
Right. So you're wanting to like output it to a page or write it to a log file, something of that nature?
Right.
If you're going to output it to a log file, you're going to have to echo to the log file. I'm not a PHP developer by any means. When I had to look at variables and stuff, I would just basically print them to the page I was looking at. Like if I was troubleshooting functions that were on the theme file that I was working in, I would actually just drop them, echo them directly out to that page so that I could see them. So, and print underscore R, and there was one other one that was, one does it like in a nice format. Oh, what's the other one's a dump? Is it just a, not a dump?
Var dump.
Var dump. Var dump is
Well-
not pretty, and print R is pretty. I think, is that
So
right?
like what I would recommend doing is if you turn on WP debug and WP debug log, that'll write to the debug log, which it overwrites PHP's default error logger and will save into the WP content directory. And then what you can do from there is just use PHP's built-in error underscore log function. And anytime you do that, it will write to that debug.log file in the WP content directory.
Well, what I found is that there was an error underscore log that would allow me to print the value of a certain variable, but it wasn't allowing me to say what the variable was. So I wondered if you guys had any ideas on that.
Oh,
Usually,
you mean
if I want to
like,
know like specifically what I am logging, I will just like I'll do like error log form value and then put like the print R value of the form variable after it.
yeah.
Like I'll just like put that in
I mean,
the statement.
For the text, would you have quotes around it, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
quotes around
Yep.
it and then put after that, what I'm the
I
actual.
tried that, and I was having something weird happening, so I.
You're going to need to learn a little PHP. So you're going to, unfortunately, we can't teach a PHP on the call, but you're going to have to learn a little PHP. I'm trying to think what a good resource is for that. But
Well-
basically, what I do is I look at plugins that are well written, and I look for their error logging, and I emulate their error logging if I'm not sure what I'm doing. But basically, it's like echo. Oh, what's that private chat? Hang on.
I put a sample in like the private chat of what you could do, or what I normally do.
Okay, let me. Yeah, here we'll drop that in a banner.
Well, one of the interesting things was a couple of my plugins turned out with error messages in the debug log.
Yeah,
Yeah,
And that'll
which will just happen naturally. Yeah, because
Yeah.
the debug with the WP debug log on, it's just going to catch all PHP errors across anything like on any page load.
Well, and these days now, WordPress is trying to be proactive and protective of your site. And if a plugin is misbehaving and white screening, they won't actually echo the white screen, or they won't drop the white screen immediately. They'll deactivate the bug. They'll deactivate the plugin and route it to the log file. And your best bet, honestly, anytime you're having any kind of an issue of that nature, is to get with your server host and get their server logs, because it's going to give you everything, regardless if you've set up debugging properly in WordPress. So,
Well, this ended up allowing me to address some things. So
okay. Yeah, it's worth it to learn at least a little bit of PHP.
Oh, I have
Yeah.
along the way.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah,
trying
yeah.
to minimize that.
Yeah, mine is. I go back and forth on that one. I'm getting a little bit of an echo from your audio, Marilyn, just a tiny bit. I think you may be listening to us in another window.
I don't think so. I think I'm just on StreamYard.
I'm hearing it lag. I'm hearing a lag from somewhere, so I don't know where it's coming from, because that's weird. But I can hear it. It's like, woo! I'm speaking to myself and behind, like in a echo chamber.
I don't hear it.
And it's delayed enough that it's definitely coming from you, Facebook. So let me see. Hang on. I'm going to mute you, Jen or Elaine, for just a moment and see if that fixes it. Let's see. Yep, I'm no longer hearing it. Elaine, are you listening to us on YouTube?
The sound is turned off.
Okay. Just make sure it is, because I'm still hearing it. Yeah, it's coming back again. It's definitely you. So I'm muting you for a second. Okay. But yeah, I've had to do this. Go ahead, Travis. I'm sorry.
I just think like what can be helpful too when like doing error logging like this. I just linked an article in the private chat to PHP's magic constants, and these are great because what I will do before any debug log item. Generally, I'm writing my code in classes, so I will use the method magic constant, which will automatically put like the full path to the method that's being run when the error is being logged. So like you automatically kind of know like where you are and like where that error is being called from.
Well,
You can
I knew
even-
where
yeah.
I knew where I was. That wasn't
Yeah.
an issue. But
That's a good
that's
article.
something I'll write down.
Yeah, that's definitely a good article. Yeah, because that's been my hardest thing was like I had to look and see how Gravity Forms did logging so that I could understand how to make sure that I got those things output into the log file at the right spots. Because that's the very first thing we have everybody do is turn on their logging if they're having a problem. And I wanted to make sure that anything I was doing with any kind of code that I wrote actually went to those log files in the right places. So learning that was a big thing for me too. So I'm learning a little bits here and there too. It's a process. I'm not going to learn. I'm not going to learn React. That's probably not going to happen anytime in my lifetime anyway. So, did you have any other questions, Marilyn? I think you
You said you were
said.
going to be setting up a GitHub location to list our favorite plugins.
No, we're going to do it on a Facebook group discussion
Okay.
and Slack. Yeah, GitHub's too much work.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll start up a discussion both on Facebook and in our Slack chat and throw it in there and kind of have them start going over for the next month. And then we'll bring them in for the next Ask Us Anything and go over them. Okay?
Yeah, I have a recommendation for one.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. I'm going to drop you back into the green room and how are you doing, by the way? You doing good?
Yeah.
Awesome. It's good to see you again.
Yeah,
We've missed you.
we're hiking, not as we were, but
Yeah.
this little plugin helps us with managing things.
Right. Because you run a website for hiking trails, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Cool. Nice. All right. I'm going to drop you back in the green room. I think Anne's down there making cookies. I'm pretty sure she's making chocolate chip. I'm sure. So she's sharing them. So, all right. We'll talk to you later. If you have another question, just drop it into the private chat and we'll bring you back in. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Let's go back to our Meetup window. We did have someone ask a question in our primary chat. He said, Braden at flexology.net said the Apple site came up as a 40 on Google PageRank. Is there an ideal number? And my response to that was, I have no clue. I would recommend looking at that first article we linked, this one here, because that should talk about each one of those metrics and where those metrics are coming from and what they mean. As to whether or not those are the good metrics or not, yeah, I would say we're going to probably have to route that to someone who knows what the hell they're talking about. That's the problem. I think Google keeps changing stuff so that they can keep themselves pertinent. I know I was talking to a friend of mine who does Google SEO ranking, and his company, they pay a company to do the AdWords piece because I guess there's some stuff you have to use an external company for some of that stuff. And the external company was doing a lot of campaigns on their own without authorizing them with his company. And he's hired to actually check those rankings and write campaigns and do stuff like that. And he questioned them. And I looked at the response back from this campaign company, and it was pure, unadulterated gobbledygook. I could barely follow 20% of what the guy was saying. Acronyms left and right, numbers left and right, saying, oh, but our metrics are doing great, and this particular campaign did 80% retention, and blah, 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 blah. And it's going, you know what? That doesn't really matter. You ran a campaign that had incorrect content in it. And that's what the person was asking you about. So the most important thing you can do if you don't understand what those particular companies are talking about, is get them to speak to you in English language or Spanish language if you speak Spanish. But the whole point is to get them to gist it for you. And if it sounds like they're talking gobbledygook, go find another company. It's just that simple. Okay. So
But
that's my
find someone
answer.
you trust. Other than
Yeah.
AdWords is not as difficult as people make it seem. I mean, depending on how much money you're spending on it, it can be fairly simple. And
yeah, I think they like to make it complicated because making it complicated makes them seem pertinent. Do you think that's it, Jen?
well, it's because Google keeps changing things. So you're trying to compare stuff from today to stuff 5 years ago. You can't really, because the metrics aren't exactly the same. And that's what a lot of people want to see in their websites. Well, how is this compared to a year ago? Well, you can't provide exactly the same metrics, but what you can do is say, hey, this is working and this is why. And I mean, you've got to look at it from your entire marketing strategy. It can't just be, like you said, if they're just talking Google language, that's not relevant. If they're talking about, okay, here's your marketing strategy, this is your target market, here's how we're targeting that market, here's the retention from that market, and here's how we can show that there was retention from that market, and here's how we can show that whatever your objective is, your marketing objective was accomplished. I mean, that's what needs to be looked at. It's not so much the Google terminology, because that will get overwhelming. And I've run Google ad campaigns for like campaigns that were thousands of dollars a month. And you do get sucked into it because you start seeing like, oh, there's these trends going on. And I love statistics. If you like math and you like statistics, it's so easy to get sucked into that. But at the end of the day, if your Google Ads person can't explain to you why they're doing what they're doing, then there's a problem. And if they can't explain to you why what they're doing is working well or not working well, or what they're planning to adjust, and isn't talking to you about what your marketing strategy is and what your marketing goals are, then there's a problem.
That makes sense to me. I get it. It makes total sense to me. Yeah, I know I've had some that just like they're targeting the wrong audience. And
yes.
And it's like, okay, so that means, you're trying to match keywords for something that isn't the right audience. But that was the old stuff. I know it's changed quite a bit since then too.
Yeah, because a lot of times it gets outsourced, or it gets filtered down to the entry-level person, and that entry-level person only knows what's been explained to them, what's been told to them about Google Analytics, Google AdWords. And so what they're reporting back is, it's like, like the grapevine game, like they've got such watered down objectives that they're trying to accomplish that it's not at all what the company wanted. And it's not that person's fault, but I mean, if you're not working directly with the people who are managing your AdWords, it gets
that actually makes perfect sense.
I've seen it get messy.
Yeah, because you've given somebody, you've farmed out the AdWord piece, and you've been given a campaign with a set of keywords and the conversion metrics, and that's all you're worried about. So from that viewpoint, those four things, yes. Oh, this is reporting perfectly. This is doing great, but every single, 80% of the content was incorrect. Mm-hmm. And we're not running that campaign anymore, and we're not supposed to be running that campaign anymore. And yeah. That's kind of the stuff he was running into. And the guy just kept coming back with gobbledygook. So, yeah, which I find, I don't like it when people give me gobbledygook. Okay, so from our WordPress meetup, Maggie Ardito asks, what's the best theme for Agile Lean website with Gutenberg? We don't have any best themes, but we have some recommended themes. I can highly recommend GeneratePress Premium. The GeneratePress regular one is actually okay too, but the GeneratePress Premium is much better because you have a lot more control. Blocksy is another one that Chris Wegman recommends, and he's got an article because he was recently doing this himself of trying to, granted, he had a very specific requirement. He wanted to build his entire site out of Gutenberg, and he specifically did not want to have to write a child theme. and he specifically did not want to have to write, what do you call it? Here, I'll just do it here. He specifically did not want to write a child theme, and he didn't want to have to write any PHP or CSS or much CSS to customize it. And he chose Blocksy over GeneratePress because of that one. I've actually chosen GeneratePress over most because it can handle. I like a theme that actually can do most of the work like the menu management, header management, stuff like that, and kind of get the look I'm looking for, so that the only thing I'm focusing on and concerned about is the page content itself, and that's the stuff I'm going to do with Gutenberg. I'm still old WordPress. I still want to manage. I still believe in, you menu in the menu editor, your theme should handle the header and the footer, and the content should be handled by the primary theme files or with a little bit of customization. And I want to do the rest of it with CSS. I don't want to have to write any code if I can help it in the functions.php either. I also don't want to have to do a child theme if I can help it. I like the way GeneratePress actually has an export functions. You can export all the customizer settings and re-import them into another theme very easily. Our WordPress Tampa Bay website is running on GeneratePress and Gutenberg. And trying to think. Do you guys have any other suggestions? Because I know Jen and you and Elaine do a lot more website stuff than myself and Travis do.
You're looking for themes, or
themes that are really agile, that work really good with Gutenberg, but we're totally tossing because the whole idea would be, because Gutenberg is designed to be optimized for speed, you don't want to use a page builder. You don't want to use Elementor or Beaver Builder or any of the other, like Avada is a great theme, but it's got its own builder and it gets in the way. And that's kind of the thing with a lot of these packaged themes, is that they either have their own builders or they require a builder to work well. And you shouldn't have to do that. You should have enough control through your theme to be able to get the look you're looking for with Gutenberg and the theme itself.
Well,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Am I on mute?
No, you're good now.
Okay.
We can hear you. Yep, you're good.
I had about 40 tabs open. I've deleted about 20 of them. So
okay,
a little better.
Good girl.
Got a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't hear me anymore, so I think you're good.
Looking at how many I have.
Good. One theme I don't recommend is Divi. God.
Yeah, definitely not. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a builder.
How it works with blocks. I don't really know how Divi would work.
It doesn't. It does not work with Gutenberg blocks at all. Beaver Builder works with Gutenberg blocks, or at least they're trying to, but their builder still is in the way. And Elementor has tossed the whole Gutenberg out the window. So, nope. Yeah. And I know I wish. What's our fellow's name? Who's up in Canada? What's his name? You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, but I didn't get his name.
I can't remember his name either right now, unfortunately, and I can't tell if he's on. I can't tell. Anyway, he would be probably recommending whatever theme he likes, and I'd be great with that too. My main thing is like, if you're gonna get a theme, it absolutely should embrace Gutenberg completely, and not require much beyond that to work properly. Because if it doesn't, then you've got the wrong theme. And the only ones I know of that have embraced it are GeneratePress, Blocksy. There's a handful that WordPress recommends, but I'm not familiar with them because they didn't stand out to me, or I didn't like the way they looked. So, and to me, anything that just showed up in the last couple of years, I'm probably not going to look at either, because I'd like to see somebody that had been around and understood WordPress from before, so that they kind of changed with the times. I would feel more comfortable with a theme like that myself. What you call it? Genesis, right? Yeah. Genesis has thoroughly embraced Gutenberg. So I haven't used it, in a really long time because I never liked having to do as much PHP stuff as you had to do with Genesis. I never liked having to do a child theme all the time. You know, that you couldn't work at all without a child theme, and that was something that was very much pre-Genesis. Are they still called Genesis, or they have another name now?
No, I think it's still
Genesis. Yeah, their company is
Well, they're
Studio
owned by
Press, and
Studio
Genesis
Press.
is the
Oh, well, they're owned by WP Engine now. That's right.
yeah Studio
It's
Press is
Studio
owned by
Press.
WP Engine.
Studio Press. Yeah, Studio
Yeah.
Press is the framework. Yeah, open source Genesis framework, Studio Press. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, but that's who I would. That's a good recommendation. Probably just even from like the WordPress site. Let me check real quick. I'm gonna hop over there. Themes. Let me use their best filter here. Of course, they're pushing the ones that have block editor patterns and block editor styles and block editor this and block editor that. I want them to embrace Gutenberg, but I don't want them to shove their block editor patterns and styles down my throat. Because I like the idea, but I don't like it. I'm still holding very firm to my, I feel like the more of that stuff that comes from, it's like you're getting too many plugins again. That's how I feel about, if I go to my block editor and there's 5,000 blocks, I'm overwhelmed, and I don't want to see that. So I think we're going in that direction again with a lot of the with a lot of the Gutenberg stuff. And I'm probably going to get yelled at by someone from.
Which is why I opted to manually just write out the HTML for a lot of the pages on the For Gravity site.
Yeah.
And then what? And then what, Travis?
If I need to, it's generally the sales pages. Anything that's blog, documentation and stuff, that's a standard WordPress page. But those sales pages, if we just need to do updates, we create a new pull request with those changes, someone reviews them, and we push them out the door.
Like a landing page, kind of?
Yeah, just because, with it just being, two of us making changes, it's not worth investing, for us, it's not worth investing that time creating all the kind of custom blocks and the patterns we need to achieve a lot of those elements. And, we know the HTML, so, let's just do it an hour and a half and be done. You know?
I get that. I mean,
for a lot of people, that's not the
it.
approach, and I totally, totally understand it, but,
That was how we used to do it in the old days, right, Elaine? We used to write them in Dreamweaver and just chop them all up into tables and split them. Remember those days of designing everything and cutting it into tables?
But it was horrible, yeah.
Yes, I remember the Dreamweaver days and the fireworks and all that. I made some gorgeous sites back in those days, but God, they weren't responsive, and God, if you messed up something and the table structure got messed up, it was
labor intensive.
It was a nightmare. It was what it was.
But man, it was so much easier to deal with. Honestly,
in ways, it definitely. In some days, yeah, it was.
You would launch fireworks, and within a second and a half, you could start using it. You launched Photoshop today, and you might as well go get a coffee and come back.
Yeah, that's true. And even when we did even when I used to write in Perl, on the internet for Bank of America, we did the outer framework. Basically the same thing we do in WordPress now, where you have the header and the footer. You design that to be static, and maybe do a breadcrumb change or something of that nature. But your main content was the only thing that was dynamic, and that's what you built with your website. So sometimes I think we have made it just too complicated,
Let's just go back
Not
to
every
the
single
server-side includes. We'll just make a bunch of SHTML files and done.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like in a lot of ways, you don't have to have every single page be different. There is kind of a thing for understanding your content strategy and making a consistent design. And a lot of folks don't think that way first. They think, oh my God, I've got to compete with everybody else, and I'm going to have gigantic hero images and content, and I need pricing tables and sliders and all this kind of stuff. And my page isn't flashy enough. It must be flashy. Don't listen to your
design
client.
Doesn't need to be flashy.
No.
It just needs to appear professional and thought out, so it doesn't look like it's someone who just came in, threw this up in 30 minutes, and it's potentially a scam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the whole point. Your and your content should be well written. That's another big thing that a lot of people don't think about. You really do have to have well written content. So going back to our WordPress meetup, we have a question on here. Unfortunately, it's like, you got to give us more, people. The question was, I have project to build website. We need a little more than that. So, give us either some ideas about what the project is, or do you need to know how to start a new website or what to ask or something of that nature? Because that's a completely different ball of wax. So I'm going to go back to our WordPress meetup. This is why we ask for specific detailed questions on our meetup RSVPs so that we get good stuff we can discuss here. So
A similar question in the meetup would be ideas on plugins, which I
No,
have
we
ideas on
handled that one.
plugins, but oh, we did? Okay.
Yeah, we handled that one. That was actually, I just said, we turned it into a let's come up with great ideas for plugins discussion. So, sometimes that stuff can work. So Andrew Ekman asks, looking for help on a design plugin to show several announcements on a homepage of our local community. I actually like Event Calendar for this, from Modern Tribe, the event calendar. Or is it the events calendar? What's it called? Oh, it's not Modern Tribe anymore. My bad. I forgot. They sold their company. The events calendar. Here, I'll
By
share.
the folks at Liquid Web.
Liquid Web, that's right. They bought it. Okay. Here. I've got way too many. There we go. I hate when they do the horrible little, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh-oh, did I lose you guys? I think I did.
Still here.
Nope, I'm still here. Okay, I was like, I couldn't find you, and then I looked, you're pinned in a little tiny tab. There's a little red dot that shows that I'm reporting. So, sorry about my freak out there for a minute. This is what happens when you run too many things at once, right? theeventscalendar.com. We use it for to show the list of events coming up. It's great for anything that has like a specifically dated stuff. So like if you're doing announcements that have the specific dated type of things, that's a perfect choice for that. If you're looking for something that's kind of more of a community posting place where people can kind of post their own type of announcements of that kind of nature, I would probably look at, I know which site. I know the plugin I'm thinking of, but I can't think of the name of it right now. Shoot.
If you want it to be community powered, I would personally recommend like a blend of something like a pods or an ACF to like create a custom post type for your announcement, and then using something like Gravity Forms with the advanced post creation to accept those submissions and turn them into announcements. But
sometimes that's a little bit too much work.
Yeah, but also like if all you need to do is just display announcements, like you're not collecting them from the community. If they're very simple announcements, you could just do it as just general WordPress posts and use an announcements category. And just filter posts based on the category, or also using something like a pods to create like an announcements post type.
Yeah.
And just displaying the post from that post type.
Yep. That's the nice thing about ACF, pods, CPT, UI, those kind of things is like creating a post type is really not that complicated. And with the new Gutenberg post query block, or I think they have a different term for it because they didn't like the word query block. They found it confusing. And they didn't like the idea of a loop block because they also found that confusing because they thought that people wouldn't understand what that meant. But for people that understand WordPress, a loop block and a query block, the query is what defines what shows up in the loop, and the loop is what loops through the items that you have queried to show those particular things. So like if you wanted to show just as a simple example, if I go to a website, if I go to a website like WordPressTampaBay.org and I do a search, the search that you're entering is a query. What it's showing you as a list is a list of the posts that actually match that query. So, and that's kind of the whole idea behind the loop block and the post blocks that are part of the new Gutenberg. Let's plan on maybe spend. Go ahead, Travis. Yeah.
What I would say with the query block, because I tried using that recently, is just there are some limitations around, like if you're looking to do some customization around specifically like what content is appearing for each item in the loop, you're going to be hard pressed for customization on that.
Right, because it's only going to give you kind of like a block that has like maybe the excerpt, the featured image,
Yeah, and it seems to be
standard
more,
meta.
Yeah, there's no real way to hook in and like do like a custom template, like if like on the server
Okay.
side for each item. At least from when I last used it like a couple months ago.
Probably won't talk about it very much right now, but Pods 2.8 is in release candidate, or should be very shortly if it's not already. And that is one thing they have added is the new block editor for showing all of that kind of stuff, and it works with the new Gutenberg loop and stuff. So
Wait,
at some
what are
point,
you saying? It shows what?
what's coming with Pods? You're talking about what Travis just talked about. Re-ask your question, Lane. I'm sorry.
So you said the Pods 2.8 or whatever editor
Yes. Mm-hmm.
shows
It's going to have new blocks available for like you know how like when you currently work with Pods, you create a pod template, and you show it using that whole little, magic taggy stuff.
Yeah.
The whole idea would be is that you would still create a Pods template, but you can now show it inside a Gutenberg block.
Oh,
That's the big difference.
okay.
So, and that basically they've created a single item block, a list block, and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But they're Pods blocks, kind of like the Gravity Forms block to show a Gravity Form in the block editor, or what's another good one? Like WooCommerce has all the blocks for like showing recent products and shopping cart and stuff like that. It's kind of of that nature. They're pre-built, but they're designed to give you the flexibility to show what post type you want to show, what order you want to show it in, any kind of like special filters, all that kind of stuff. It's powerful. I have not taken a look at the new candidate yet. As soon as I do, we may end up doing a talk about it. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe before the end of the year. So, okay. So that was that one. But yeah, I honestly, when it comes down to it, event calendar is 80% of what you need for that kind of stuff. And if you do want to open it up to the community and handle like community posts, they have a paid premium version that can handle that. But I think they may even have like a slightly free version too.
And also, if you don't need the calendar items, just keep it simple with either like a light post type or just doing on the blog with a category. You have like a wide spectrum of options based on like how much control you need over the content.
Right. Yeah, you can do a lot with categories and tags, a whole lot as far as organizing your stuff. So, yeah, because I'm not going to go any further than that. I think that's a good answer. I don't see any other questions in our WordPress meetup, and I don't see any other questions in our comments chat. We have been talking for 48 minutes. We've been very efficient this evening, so like incredibly efficient. Can you guys think of anything that you guys might want to bring up for Ask Us Anything tonight? Or
Well, Travis mentioned CDN earlier. Do you want to expand on that?
You mean like content delivery network?
Yeah. Do you have a favorite brand or?
I just personally use what's provided by my host. Most of the big managed WordPress hosts, whether it's the more affordable ones like WP Engine or Flywheel, or the more expensive ones like Pagely, generally have it provided, and it's just a toggle on or off. As far as third-party ones, I honestly haven't used one that I would directly recommend. I'm sure there are some good reputable ones out there. You'd of course want to find one that has a plugin that will automatically copy over your files to the CDN. I think you could use what would work for that solution. Delicious Brains has it's called WP Offload Media, which will offload your assets to Amazon S3, DigitalOcean Spaces, or Google Cloud Storage.
Wow.
And will serve it lightning fast with Amazon CloudFront or another CDN. And the Delicious Brain stuff is
top notch. Well designed, well programmed, well developed, well supported. Here you go. That's the link for the WP offload, media from deliciousbrains.com. They also have 2 really good articles about the tour of the WordPress database and the tour of the WordPress multi-site database, so which is really
just
quite
their
helpful.
whole blog is like very developer focused in a way that's very impressive.
Yeah,
and they even
they're
have
very good about that.
content around like this kind of question. Like one of their top or highlighted posts for WP Offload Media is like Amazon S3 versus CloudFront. Like why delivering WordPress media directly from S3 is a bad idea.
Okay, good stuff. All right, so we have a guest we're going to bring on the call. Hi, Larry. Welcome.
How you doing?
Hear us okay?
Yeah.
And we hear you great. Awesome. So, what's your question for us this evening?
Okay, so I'm pretty new to WordPress, so it's kind of a. I guess I'll explain quickly. My company, which is only 3 people, has a new WordPress site for a little while now. It was built by a partner, a firm, and I dabble and hop in there and do some editing, etc., as needed. But my personal background is more on the building sites from scratch kind of concept. I come from that world with Django, Python, etc. And so I'm kind of toying with some ideas for things for a site that I want to work on. And having now just sort of dabbled into WordPress because of my work job, and seeing what people do with it, and I was actually in there editing when I saw the Meetup mentioned today on the dashboard. So that's how I got here. If I wanted to build a site that had, I'm sure there's plugins that handle logins and user profiles and that kind of information. But if you wanted to build something that got into a more complex, we needed to store structures like, let's say, teams of people, and be able to communicate to those teams through text messaging through the site or through emails from the site, storing records of events, things like that. So basically database information, what I would typically be storing in a MySQL or SQLite and accessing it through like the Python and the Django interface. So can that be done in a WordPress site, or do you iframe something?
It can.
How's it typically, like what's a typical way?
It can be done, but you're going to have to do it in the WordPress way. And that's typically what you're going to be running up against, is like if you are comfortable in working in the languages you're used to working in and having the flexibility you're used to having and the control you're used to having, you may want to stay in that mode and possibly use WordPress just for the more front-ender type stuff. Because a lot of the stuff that you're asking about, kind of like, communication between, that are really kind of like behind the scenes, internet type stuff, intranet type stuff, you don't want to do that in WordPress.
Okay.
I can tell you that right now. Unless you are truthfully doing something massively enterprise like a school or something of that nature. And even then, I would probably pull back. Go ahead, Travis.
But just as much, it's not too difficult for like items to like create a custom post type to represent your object. You register metadata on the back end that is related to that object, and just creating some like light model wrapper classes in PHP around those object types that will handle like saving the metadata, getting the metadata in ways that WordPress handles it, and then you can like go from there and like kind of resume for normal. You'll kind of feel out when you start doing that kind of stuff, when you're hitting those walls of WordPress's how they handle storing the metadata and just post objects in general, and that's when you'll know to kind of flip that switch to actually creating a custom table or tables for your use case.
And two,
software that'll get me that, things that I can use or plugins inside WordPress that would let me talk to the external objects, a different backend, or not really?
You're going to run up against one of those kind of things where you're either going to be incredibly dependent on a lot of plugins and like having to learn PHP and React, or if you have already gone that direction and you actually have coded in that direction, you might be better off using WordPress's data structures in a headless environment with like REST API and going that direction instead. The WordPress REST API is pretty well developed. And you use WordPress for your authentication, your user authentication, and and the back and forth communications, and you let the WordPress API be the layer in between that you communicate with for your headless scripts.
Generally,
way.
like I'll do a lot of like when I'm doing this kind of stuff, just using like the standard WordPress API functions for registering post types, updating metadata, like doing that all directly, and just using a plugin like ACF for displaying the UI to manage some of that metadata in the WordPress admin, but actually handling all that stuff myself in the backend, because like I know how to access those functions that a lot of other plugins like pods and stuff, they're in a sense they're fancy wrappers around those plugins for registering post types.
But
obviously there's additional functionality, but you understand what I'm saying at the core.
Yeah, this is one point where I would actually say pushing pods is really good for someone who has come from another language and is more comfortable working in being able to like pull data in through another language like JSON, with our REST API. Pods is great for that because Pods has added a lot of very specific REST API functions that can get deeper, and you can do database structures. Pretty much anything you can think of, you can come up with in Pods. So I would highly recommend, Pods, pods.io is the website. Here, I'll just pop it on the thingy. This is one of those kind of things where I have no problem recommending this for folks that know, like all of the folks that came over from Suncoast Developers School. We recommend it a lot of times because a lot of them were very comfortable working in React. They were very comfortable working in Python, very comfortable working in even Ruby on Rails and stuff like that. And as long as they could get to an API and pull that information out in a very secure way, why not? Because WordPress has already handled all of the security side for you.
Yep. And
so it's a good choice for that because WordPress has the the SSL support, basic authentication, the whole bit, OAuth if you need it. So it's worth it to go down that direction. Pods can give you kind of like a shortcut method for creating all the structures you need in a nice, clean way and let you play with it.
Okay.
And
But equally, if you're not doing something as much on the front end, like with my fillable PDFs product, we have an API that handles storing the PDF templates that customers use on our back end. And we're just using a mix of like WordPress's REST API, so like register REST API endpoints, and then using WordPress's WPDB class, which handles a lot of like the database interactions, and just writing like some models and controllers around it, like you would just like a standard PHP application.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's hard to get, like,
WPDB is definitely PHP only, though, isn't it?
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those are kind of like the general tent poles. Like it's kind of hard to dig in deeper, like without knowing like specifically what you're doing. Because like if we started to like dig into each idea, like we could very easily like see like, okay, like for this item, like here are the limits you're gonna hit, and like when you would need to pivot to different solutions.
Marilyn brings up a good point too about pods. Is that what she really liked about it was that you could have objects with fields that mirrored her database structure, and that is one of the good things about pods is that it's pretty much designed to be performant in a database format as far as having structures, relationships between tables, all that kind of thing. So it's worth checking out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, that makes sense. It just seems to me there's too much work to do the front end. Nicely, whereas WordPress seems to be, and everything that comes with it.
There's a couple of things you get automatically. Like if you create a custom post type with Meta, automatically with just the custom post type, you're going to get admin tables built into WordPress, and there's a lot of that functionality is just there.
Yeah.
And things like admin columns will allow you to push all the meta into columns within those admin tables. So, like, depending on what your needs are, like I needed a simple CRM, And all I did was I made sure that it wasn't public. I created it in pods, turned off public features so it couldn't be searched, couldn't be accessed in any way from the public side of the world. It only showed up in the back end, and then I created a form that pushed new leads into that CRM automatically, wrote new post types, new posts into it, and then I just used that for everything else. And then I used Gravity Forms. Since it was my form, I used Gravity Forms to create the communication back and forth to the customer who had filled out the lead, because that's one of the nicest things about the notes function in Gravity Forms is it has access to the email of the person that sent the form, and it also has the ability to pull in. You can type in another email address, or you can pull an email address from a user on your website and stuff like that. So there's a lot of ways around a lot of that kind of stuff. So go ahead.
And I'd argue the bigger benefit of using a custom post type more than having an admin is just having all the route handling taken care of for you.
Yeah.
That's the bigger pain to deal with WordPress sometimes with the rewrite rules. It's
it is a huge nightmare.
Yeah, hope you understand regex because otherwise it's gonna be a bad time.
Yeah. All right, appreciate
Did that help?
Yes, very much.
Oh, Larry, where are you from, Larry? Are you
I'm
from,
in Sarasota.
Tampa Bay? Sarasota. Awesome.
Yeah, so I think St. Pete's closest. Of all the groups.
Yeah, St. Pete's our closest. We've been remote through all of this. I'm trying to think. No, Birgit moved, didn't she? She's no longer in Sarasota, isn't she? Travis, I can't remember. Birgit ran the Meetup group down in Sarasota. She's the Gutenberg Times lady. She runs Gutenberg Times. I don't know if you've heard of that one or not, but yeah, she's one of the connections down that way. They have a Meetup group down there in Sarasota as well. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Awesome.
I appreciate your help. Thank you.
Anytime. And I think we have no other questions as far as I can tell. So I'm going to drop you back in. Well, you dropped yourself back in the green room, or actually just left. Decided not to eat any cookies at all. It was nice having you on the call, though. We have been in an hour now. I think we're done. Let's see. It's been a while since I've ended one of these things. So let me get my banners back up again. I have way too many banners. Make sure that you visit our website at wptampabay.org. Make sure that you like and subscribe to us on YouTube. It does help our follower count or whatever it is. We don't get any kind of monetization from YouTube, but I don't know. At least not that I've known. I don't even know how many followers we have on YouTube anymore. Anyone want to check that while I'm here? Nah, nobody wants to know. So,
we have
988.
We have 900 members in Meetup. I saw that.
Oh, nice. But we only have, how many did you say? We only have 388 subscribers?
Yeah, something.
Okay, people, you need to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. At some point, we want to get one of those little banner things that, that makes us like, I don't know, one of those stupid YouTube thingies. So, of course, I guess if I go around calling it a stupid YouTube thingy, we're never going to get one.
Probably not going to
YouTube
get
won't
it.
give us one. Yeah. They'll immediately not make sure that we don't have one because of that. So, yeah. Let's see. There's my end clip. Okay, I couldn't find my end clip, the end thing. So anyway, again, we will see you again next month at the WordPress Meetup in October. And thank you again, Travis and Elaine and Jen, for joining the call tonight and being the wonderful Meetup organizers that you are. None of us, I think, who still lives in St. Pete now? Jen?
Just
Are
me,
you the only one of us? Yeah, Jen's the
you.
only one of us that still lives in St. Pete. I have moved to Lakeland. Travis is in Newport Richey. Elaine is in Tampa. So, yes, we still represent WordPress Tampa Bay. Maybe WordPress Tampa Bay can spread all the way out to Lakeland. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, guys. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. All right, guys. Let's we'll do our little end clip video, and we'll see you in another month. Okay. Thank you for watching a recorded session from WordPress St. Petersburg Meetup. We meet once a month on the first Tuesday of the month, live streaming online through our YouTube channel and Facebook group. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up on YouTube, and be sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new videos are added. Find out more about WordPress St. Petersburg at our website at wptampabay.org.